All right, back at it. Good morning. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Alex. Good password. Yes. Yeah. So, not too much happening this morning. Equity markets, anyway. Um, it was quiet at the end of last week, almost like the market wasn't even open on Friday. It was pretty tight, going nowhere. But anyway, I was a little surprised, but after a move like that, I guess it's just resting. So, at this point, said in the beginning there, and last week's low is a significant support level since prices cleared this pivot high on the futures. Kind of the same everywhere. There was a consolidation, a breakout, with a wider range bar, not as wide as the ones coming off of the low there. So momentum obviously is slowing. In range, I think the average range on SPX is down to about 25 points. Before it was like 65-ish or so. Um, so it's tight. And I think, they'll keep buying the dip or defending this, not to break down, because you don't want selling to be getting more selling just because, hey, it stopped going up, can go sideways and chop around. But we've got warning signs, internals, the volatility index, which we can look at quickly here and flip over there. Um, you know, this is the lowest level for the volatility index, I think, in a couple of years, being down here, but that doesn't mean it can't stay down here and the markets go up. It's one piece of information that says, hey, things are maybe at a high point. Prices are at resistance. They're at a whole number. Um, this total put call ratio on ES, they actually had data in there that was erroneous for Thursday when the market was closed. I just set it for what Friday was, but still, it skewed this a little bit. So over the in the weekend video, I showed the equity put call ratio, which is already up through the lower band there. So we do have a signal from our internals to be cautious at this point. Breakouts tend to fail. These bottoming patterns, which do well when you're down here, breadth is down here and sentiment is bullish. So just keep that in mind. Interest rates have creeped lower. The 10 years near support, but still not down into it. The dollar is weak again this morning, which is good. Kind of puts a floor under things for now. But risk is increasing. It's in the end of the year. Another month to go in a few days. Unbelievable, but here it is again. I don't think you have to go back to 2007. I could be wrong, but we could look quickly. I should change the time frame. You can see there were 17, there were lows down there where it stayed relatively low. And it didn't mean that the market dropped. Let me see if I got a that we could look at quickly. No. Anyway, yeah, we could do this. We got time. Anyway, doesn't change it very much. It's a month. That's a monthly chart just to go back that far. But just because it was low, the market, here that had a dip, um, and just being low, that doesn't mean the market has to go lower. However, and let's go to the weekly chart for a second. So, down here, I don't know about closing lows. I'd have to put this on a close. That would give us a better view other than intraday. A better way to look at it. So closing lows, you could see down there, kind of just hugging all of those and going back again to 2017. It was certainly was lower back there. All right. And you can see on a closing basis. And here it stayed low. But look, just this is one piece of information. That doesn't mean, a lot of people get hung up on one piece of information and then wonder why it's not working. Different market environments. And so we look at other things like the internals, which are now giving us a heads up. And then, as we looked at the 10-year, does that start to turn up and what the dollar does and all of those things coming together, in this market, along with VIX could lead to, a correction. We're going to get some kind of correction regardless at some point. How deep is the correction? That's another conversation. You never rely on one piece of information, just like when Dan and I do MT Live and we say, hey, these are concepts, market internals, relative strength and weakness, candlesticks, trends, and so on. One of those pieces of information alone don't mean anything. As you start putting them together, now you've got a systematic method to base decisions on. So pretty much the same wherever we look. I think that was Monday. Wide range bar. What was that Monday? Anyway, this low point here, staying above there, markets potentially can go higher. Futures are pulling in here a little bit, but within a range really don't mean very much for now. I think what's more meaningful is, how NVIDIA pulled in on those great earnings, SMHs, showing some relative weakness. Last week, broke out and come back in, still in an uptrend. We got all these unfilled gaps down below that are calling. So until we get some kind of a meaningful reversal, a break of some support, I will assume that, they'll keep buying the dip and maybe it won't go up the way it was, and likely it won't. But probably won't go down in a significant way either, just yet. All right, just looking at, I'll get to that economic reports. There's some things coming out at 10 o'clock and 10:30. I'll be aware of that. New home sales, Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index at 10:30 today. So just keep that in mind. SPX. I mean, it's tight. It's tight. Either side could get tagged easily with that distance. So, either stay away or, pick your spot in intraday. But, with these tight ranges, none of the strikes are even coming close to getting hit that are being picked. So, and there was this gap up last week, and be aware, set an alert there. As that gets filled, maybe prices bounce up from there, give or take. All right, the Russell has been the red-headed stepchild, so to speak. It's going sideways for almost 2 weeks. Maybe it can break out and bring up the rear. Ideally, it doesn't break down below these lows. If it dips down, we'd like to see a bottoming tail bar or buyers step up again. As we hear different people in the media, different statistics, you've probably heard the same. The Russell relative to whatever, as historically, this has been a huge underperformance, and there's a lot of beliefs that the Russell is going to outperform in 2024 because of that. But we need to see the components within the Russell begin to outperform, like XBI. The stocks in there, and this is starting to outperform. a little bit by coming off of the low. You can see the downtrend that it's been in recently, breaking down. So biotechs and pretty much everything related to healthcare has been under pressure this year. KRE, you know the story with the regional banks down here, and things have been basing out. So if we can see these, hold up on whatever the dip is, maybe the Russell and these underperformers will do well in 2024, something we'll keep an eye on, as well as, of course, we're always looking at the transports to see if they're going to play some catch up. And you can see they're at that resistance area that they're dealing with, but so far holding up relatively well. So that's a good thing. And maybe we'll see some of those begin to outperform in 2024. Interest rates, we already looked at the 10-year, expecting, them to come down here. And when they get down there, you can see they're in an uptrend on the weekly chart, just like anything in an uptrend on the weekly chart, with the daily is coming down into a support area, it begins to bottom out, and we'll be looking to see if it actually holds there and starts turning up, and what happens with the dollar, and of course what happens with energy, which we can take a quick look at, which is down a little bit this morning. But as I look at this drawing tool, I'm not sure, but I mean, I know that that's a shakeout, and wondering if this is going to be a little head and shoulders bottom there. So not confirmed yet, but it's pulling back, and we got this wide range bar breaking down up to the 200 pullback. I'm not sure it's a higher low yet, but look at this price action here overnight. So something that we'll be keeping an eye on to see if this continues to find buyers down here. And in combination with that, as I said, if this starts going up and interest rates start going up, and the dollar, I don't think the dollar is going to do much as long as the 13-week stays in its area. It doesn't start moving up. I think that, along with the internals and the VIX, all of that would lead to a corrective process, and I guess some rotation, which we'll keep an eye on, see how that goes. And what is moving well? Gold and silver. Mentioned this last week, this consolidation there, and it's moving up to the top of the range. So this was a nice little consolidation after this move up, and gold is up at the top of its range as well. There'll be sellers there, and hopefully it won't be another quiet day, but I don't know if those numbers at 10 or 10:30 might move the markets, but keep an eye or awareness of those times that maybe things start moving if we're dealing with a dull, going nowhere type of market here for the first half hour. As you can see, things sold off here a little bit, but just within a trading range, really no big deal. So we'll see how it goes. And what more? We'll just take it and see if things begin to pick up here as we get into the last month of the year. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. I was just looking at the Dow 30 there, and things are very, very quiet. Everything's red, but not by much. Microsoft and Goldman down $1. So yeah, very quiet here. A couple of alarms going. No I only see one earnings. CRNC, the bottom right here. It was up. If it were gapping at $18, the high of this red bar, then I would have said 15, 20-minute high, whatever, just could have let things settle down at the open. I would have said that's a long. So now it's gapping down here. So no interest anymore. BBY alarm just went off. See one print there. We'll come back to you. Etsy, Thomas. You know, you're going to hear me say over and over again about is a quality enough pattern that we want to. Who are you talking to? Is it quality enough with the internals or where they are, doctor, that we want to do it? And I love the weekly. The weekly is a 1, 2, 3 bottoming pattern with a downside little breakdown failure, but the daily is just going sideways. And so this is a pattern that when the market turns, this could violate last week's low and fail. It is up a little bit, so it's showing some relative strength. A firm, yeah, firm was one of my alarms went off. We were giving this Sergey as a 1/3 lot for long. Now, no, the weekly is not ideal for, but it's a kind of rectangle, whatever, call it whatever. It's sloppy, but it's a bull rectangle. If you start with the flagpole down here, look at the monthly is what interested me also. That's a multi-year bottoming pattern after this thing was 180 bucks. So yeah, that's on my list for sure. Well, Alex, I would never trade just the daily as, oh, this is a beautiful, compelling long. Like I said, it was a 1/3 lot with a monster stop. I think I gave the stop down here at the 50 MA and it's sloppy, but I just showed you why that we're doing it as a longer term trade. I had Baba alarm go off. And this gapping down, this was a little sell setup, downtrend, daily, weekly, monthly. Look at this gap from here. I'm pretty sure that was earnings. And that is what we call a bear island reversal. A nasty one. Look how it left this one candlestick all on an island by itself, where you got big gaps on the left and right, and it didn't bounce much. Look at these moving averages. If we were to take the candlesticks off, this is a fantastic example of you just looking at these 3 moving averages, and you can see what's going on, deterioration under the hood. All 3 of these were up, and then you can see them now, they're getting tight, and all 3 have rolled. So that's on my list as a short. Qualcomm is on my list for a short. We had a bearish gap last week on earnings. Now topping tail in the gap fill, up a lot, gapping down. And then LYB alarm went off. I just see one print. I really don't trust it, but this is a bear 1, 2, 3 after breakout failure. That's on my list for a call spread for December. Doesn't have weeklies. And I don't have a single alarm going off on our opens. Just all these, a couple potential new trades here. All right, so let's just go through my big watch list here, unless you all have something. And let's never have it. Yeah, it's emotional. All right, Charlie Papa, why am I looking at you? Because you got a downgrade, and it's a pattern that I wanted to see if it can recover. So I'm going to set an alarm at $72, because then it'll be a bear gap negated on a downgrade. And then it'd be a great bottoming pattern for Pittsburgh. All right, that's the one that had earnings, no interest. Retail, this is rested. Red bar ignored, 180 reversal right here, going sideways. 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. Look at that. Not bad. It's a 1, 2, 3 following what we call this bear sandwich, where you got two big green wide range bars engulfing a big red bar. So that is relative strength, opening flat. Scaliz. This, I guess, was on Sam's list. I set an alarm at 685. Now, CAG, we've been, a few of us in the green room been watching this thing for a month. And it needs some oomph, but it's a bottoming pattern. Kind of a big ascending triangle. It's above the converging 20 and 50. It'd be a no-brainer put spread, but with the VIX so low, it's been difficult finding good juice. Trading on lower volume. Oh, yeah. LSPD. Why am I looking at you? Oh, I think that was Sam's list, and the monthly. The monthly is trying to bottom here on this prior low. So this could be intelligent bottom fishing. But the daily, weekly, I just don't think it's ready. Gal, and a nice 180 reversal from a buy setup, gapping up to 16. Nah, no good target there. Breeze, beautiful, beautiful monthly. Fairly recent. Well, it's not recent. IPO was in 21, but that's a beautiful bottoming pattern on the monthly. Just extended daily, weekly. This was the one last week we were trying to sell the $45 puts. That's why. There's just no entry here. Fresh bottoming pattern. I got an alarm at 1910. XLU, Greg mentioned. Over the high, looks like it can grind higher. Looks like it's up pretty marked a little bit. Dell has earnings this week, but bullish price action. Yeah, with the Black Friday sales and all that, Amazon's going to be in focus. What I don't like is, it's a pseudo 1, 2, 3, so it closed bullish and it's gapping up with the market down, so that's relative strength. It's just right at this prior high here. I'd rather another inside bar or two to prove that it doesn't want to fall. I just had an alarm on W whiskey go off here. Bottoming pattern daily. Kind of a bear sandwich on the weekly, so it's trying to bottom. I'll put this in a window. Yeah, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, yeah. FMX is a 1, 2, 3. This would have been a great call spread, but I forget if there was no juice or it was spreading. But look like short-term top. Look at the distance from the 20 to the 50 to the 200. So that's telling you this thing has had a big move recently. JetBlue potential bottoming pattern. See, it did break out. Now it's kind of do or die. So I think I have an alarm at 434. Silver 2268. Yeah, big old bottoming. Look at that's another good example of the MAs. Look how the 200 is flat. Yeah, That's a good moving average example. Closing breakout. CNHI. Why am I looking at you? I have no idea. Ah, this was in Barron's. That's why. Barron's, because I'm looking at this pattern. Like, why am I looking at you? It had a positive article in Barron's is why. And so I just put them down and want to see what they do. If there's any pattern that supports or contradicts the intended effect of the article. BNT, I think also, yeah, I think I read this was a spin-off of another company. Yeah, nothing to do now. Yeah, right here, Alex, AQG. Yeah, I gotta tell our ETF people to wait. I'm not gonna chase it. Pre, it's a bold rectangle. 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. I have an alarm at 44.70. SOX S. So this is a Climo. This is the opposite of semi SMH. Now, I think this week we're gonna have a lot if the markets start retracing like we want and expect. I think we're gonna get a ton of call spread candidates. And so this is a great example when we're predicting a short-term top. Do you remember our MT Live called the turn? We want multiple bars of evidence saying that there's a turn. And what happened here was breakout failure, 180 reversal, and then this topping tail was another failed attempt, traded over prior bar's high and closed at the low. Then we have a narrow range bar, so this looks like a day trade short under those 2 bars lows. And so the stock says it's a climb, it's the inverse. IPG bottoming pattern, daily, weekly with a void. Not a huge target, but maybe $1. Schwab, I have an alarm, bottoming pattern, daily, weekly. And I just don't like the 200 right here. But I got my alarm, Sina alarms going off. Okay, here's another. This is a semi, so it's another example of a multiple bar reversal. I was going to give this as a call spread, but I think I forget, too spready. Hey, Aichi, VST, this is yours from last week, remember? This was yours, and I said I would set an alarm with you. As a trick, wow, markets are ripping here at the open. What the heck? Man, on a Monday morning, within the first minute, this is rare. I was just about to open my mouth and say, it's a general rule, I don't trade in the first 5 minutes. And on Mondays, I usually like waiting 10 minutes. But this, I'm telling you, from the pre-market low and the Qs and the diamonds, I'm just going to assume it's noise as of right now. But look at Google ripping right here. Whenever I say FANG's going, I immediately just look up at the Magnificent Seven thumbnails. All right, there's nothing to do with Google daily, but that's a $2.50 move right there. Yeah, set an alarm because then it'll be gap negated. Sure. All right, WLS. alarm, but I'm not doing anything, but this is on my bottoming pattern list. All right, Baba was a short idea or long put on DPZ alarm. This was a put spread idea. The only thing I wish better is if we had a bigger bottoming tail on Friday or any day last week. I don't care what thing. But it's a put spread, not a directional. All right, Qualcomm is also a long idea. I'm sorry, short idea. Yeah, Qualcomm. We were going to buy puts on this. It didn't have any juice for the call spread. Qualcomm buying the 128 puts. Yeah, it got a little squirty, and I gave it as a limit of $2. So Qualcomm's a go. It filled. And Baba. Oh yeah, my up alarm went off on Mick.